Good morning. It's good to see you this morning. I am glad that you're here. Y'all are a good-looking group today. Somebody knew they were. All right. We are in our series called Dreams, and we're thinking about the dreams that God has given us for our life or for the lives of others. We're always hoping and dreaming for what's coming down the road. Maybe as the new year started, you started to think about the dreams that you have for your family this year. And everybody wants to lose weight and get out of debt. I got that. But I'm thinking about those dreams that are even bigger than that. And, what is my family going to look like at the end of next year? What's my marriage going to look like? What are the dreams that I have for my children, and how are they going to grow and change and progress over the days and weeks and years to come? What kind of dreams and hopes do you have? Last week we jumped into the story of David, the Old Testament King David, and we caught him before he was actually king, just as a young teenager when he was chosen to be the next king of Israel. And in that story, if you weren't here last week, the prophet Samuel, the leader of Israel, is told to go and to appoint a new king. They had a king who really wasn't doing what he should be doing. He looked the part. He was big, strong, guy, Saul, but he was a coward inside. He was scared of what people thought of him, and because of that, he was disobedient to God. And so God took the kingdom from Saul and gave it to David. And the story we saw last week was Samuel going to the house of David and looking at the sons there. He knows he's supposed to appoint one of the sons as the king of Israel. And he sees the oldest, and he's a good-looking guy, big, strong guy. He goes, that's got to be him. And you remember, God tells Samuel, no, you're looking at the wrong thing. Man looks at the outside, but God looks at the heart, right? And they go through all the sons, and eventually they say, is there nobody else? And they go and they say, well, we forgot about David. He's out there with the sheep, the youngest one. You couldn't have wanted him. They go and get him, and God says, that's the one. And they anoint him with oil, and he's to become the new king of Israel, and that'll happen in our stories as we go on. But it is what we wanted to learn there was that it doesn't matter where you are now or the situation that you're in now or what your past was, that you shouldn't stop dreaming about what your future is going to be. Because God, in His power, He can overcome whatever your past was, or however it is that you see yourself right now, or however it is that you think other people see you. It's by God's power that your dreams will be achieved, that what your future is, that God is going to achieve that. And we're going to see that even more today in one of the most famous stories in the Bible. Now, if you didn't know anything else about the Bible or about David, you might have heard David and Goliath, right? You heard, and maybe you got a picture of the little boy with his slingshot, boom, and knocking down the big giant. And so we're gonna go through that story today. And so the story goes like this: Saul, who was still king, who's the big, tall, looks like a king, he led his army out to battle against the Philistines. And anytime you hear Philistines in the Old Testament, you need to think, ooh, those are the bad guys, all right? Because they're always coming up against the Israelites. And so they come to the place of battle. They come to the battlefield, and the battlefield's going to be this valley. And the Israelites line up on one side, and the Philistines line up on the other. And so they're up on this hillside over there and up on this hillside over here. And every morning they come and they line up, and they're ready for this great battle that's going to take place. And you kind of imagine how it's going to happen. Somebody's going to blow a horn, or something like that, and they're all going to go down into the valley with their swords and their shields, and they're going to smash into each other, and it's going to be just like one of those great movies, right? And so you can imagine what's going to happen. And so they're lined up there, and they're just waiting for the kings or whoever to sound the call. Well, it never happens. They line up, and what happens is, over on the Philistine lines, across the valley, over on the other hill, the Philistines are lined up there, and there's a break in their ranks. The men begin to split apart, and they make way for a soldier who's coming through. And as the soldier begins to come through, the Israelites see him, and they go, oh, that's a big guy. And he keeps walking up, and they go, whoa, he's a really big guy. And then he steps up, and he's right beside all the other soldiers, and they see, oh, that's a really, really big guy. It's Goliath, the giant of Gath, and he's 9 feet tall, the Bible says. And this may be one of those moments where you go, all right, see, this is your fairy tales, your Bible fairy tales. Go on and tell your story and tell me what the meaning of it is. Maybe I can learn a lesson from it, but there ain't no 9-foot people, all right? All right. listen, I get it. You got some doubt. I mean, there's been people really, really big in history. I mean, 9-foot people. One of my greatest heroes growing up was Andre the Giant, right? Big guy. So you do with what you want. I'm just going to go with, this really happened, okay? It's a good story, really good story. So this giant comes through, and he is a Philistine soldier, and he's dressed like it. He's got a helmet. He's got his armor on. He's got a shield. He's got a big old spear and a sword. In fact, his spear is like a weaver's rod, which doesn't mean much to us because we don't do a lot of weaving, but it's a long, long pole. And the head of it weighs 15 pounds. The iron head of his spear weighs 15 pounds. And that's a big old spear for a big old man. And so he steps up there, and instead of everybody running down into the middle, Goliath is going to he's going to offer himself as a sacrifice. He's going to, for everybody's sake there, so that we don't have to have this crazy battle where many people could die, Goliath's going to do something selfless. He says, you know what? Instead of us all, risking so many deaths, let's do this. I challenge you to one-on-one combat. You send down your best man to me, and I'll meet him down here in the battlefield, and whoever wins, that side wins. If you win, we'll serve you. If I win, we'll serve, or if I win, you'll serve us. And he comes down, he issues this challenge in the morning. There it says in 1 Samuel chapter 17, it says in verse 8, Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, why do you come and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? Are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. And then the Philistine said, this day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other. On hearing this, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. So there they are, all lined up. Goliath steps up and says, send me a man. Come on. Send one down, the best one you got. Biggest and best. Come on. We'll meet there, and whoever wins takes the day, takes the battle, takes the war. And on the side of the Israelites, all lined up for battle, they heard this call, this challenge against the God of Israel, against the armies of Saul and the armies of Israel. And all of them said, not me. I ain't going. They all look at each other. You going? You going? Saul's not about to go. The king who's supposed to be the bravest and lead his people into battle, he's not about to go. No one is stepping forward. And so they stand there, and Goliath waits, and the soldiers wait. Nobody steps forward. Eventually, I guess Goliath gets tired, and everybody gets tired, and they all kind of go back to their camps and have some lunch. And the next morning, we're going to have a battle, right? This is what we're supposed to do. We're here to have a battle. And so they all line up in their places on their hillsides, get ready to charge down. They're waiting for the call. They're waiting for the horn. And as they're waiting, here comes Goliath again. He says, send me a man. We don't have to do all this. Send me a man. I defy you. Send me a man. Nobody willing to step forward. And this goes on day after day after day. Well, at some point, this gets boring. All right? I mean, you can only get so hyped up and so ready. I mean, you can imagine the adrenaline. You get your armor on, you got your sword and your spear, and you're ready to go. You're on that hillside, and you might not live through this, and you're ready to charge down that hill into battle, and you get all ready for that, and then it doesn't happen. Well, the next day, your heart's pumping, you get ready. Third day, all right, is it going to happen today? Fourth, fifth day, you're going, I'm not even grabbing my shield. All right, I'm just leaving my shield. It's heavy. Let's go stand up here. Goliath's coming, this is boring. And eventually, they're just eating their breakfast. And they go, all right, Goliath's yelling. Everybody, don't worry. That's just what he does. Well, at some point, young David, is sent by his father to bring supplies to his brothers who are there in the army. And so he brings the supplies, and he's there talking to everybody, seeing how it's going, catching up with his brothers and talking to some of the other soldiers. And as he's talking, here comes Goliath and issues his challenge. And David is like, what? And everybody's, don't worry about that. Come on, get back to breakfast. So what's going on at your house? It happens every day. He's no, are you kidding me? This Philistine, this one is defying God, defying the armies of Israel. He says this, when it happens, the Israelites been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He defies the army of Israel. He says, and they begin to tell David, the king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give his daughter in marriage, and he will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. I guess each day Saul was like, if somebody will go, all right, I'll give you this much money. All right, next day, nobody. If somebody will give you this much money. All right, nobody still. So I got all this money piled up. How about my daughter? I'll give you my daughter. You'll be the son of the king. I'll give you my daughter. Nobody will go, right? All right, no taxes for the rest of your life. That sounds good, doesn't it? All right, nobody will go. David hears all this, and David asked the men by him, he said, who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Everybody else saw this great giant, this great soldier, this great, battle-worn soldier who is not just giant, but they knew he could fight. And they see him and they're terrified. And David goes, who does this guy think he is? Well, his brothers don't like that. His brother heard that and said, you boastful little arrogant thing. Remember, they were there when he got the oil poured over his head. You imagine the guy comes to pick a king at your house and he picks your little brother, right? And his brothers actually start giving it back to him. Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men. He burned with anger at him, and they asked, why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? Get on back to the sheep, boy, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing. And with whom did you leave those sheep? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You come down only to watch the battle. And David goes, now what have I done to you? I can't even talk. He says, now what have I done? Can't I even speak? He then turned away to somebody else. And brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard. He's asking around. He said, who's this giant think he is? The king's going to give all this to him. Basically he's saying, why doesn't somebody do something? Well, word starts to spread around. This little David is talking pretty big. Nobody else has said a word. Nobody else said, I could take that giant, but I got a, sore toe. Nobody said nothing like that, all right? My sword's in the shop. Nothing, all right? But David's talking. And so word gets back to the king. Word gets back to Saul. And so Saul sent for David, and David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. And Saul replied, you're not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. He says, when I was keeping the sheep, if a bear came and tried to grab a sheep, or if a lion came and tried to grab a sheep, I would chase it down, and I would grab it, and I would kill it. I'll kill a bear, kill a lion. I'll kill you a giant. Saul says, well, something's got to give at some point, right? I mean, we can't do this forever. He doesn't think it's going to work out, but Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you, boy. And Saul dressed David in his own tunic, and he put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. And David fastened on his sword over the tunic, and he tried walking around because he was not used to them. If you've heard this story or maybe seen a little kid's book of this, maybe you imagine David as like a little boy, right? Just a little boy who's going up against the giant. He's probably a teenager, young teenager, maybe 16, 17, something like that. Don't know exactly. But he's not as big as Saul. We know Saul is a head taller than all the other Israelites. So Saul's a big guy, and if David's not a above average guy, Saul's clothing is going to look big on David. So he puts all this on. He begins to try and walk around. How's he going to get the sword, and how's he going to maneuver? He's about to go out and battle this giant, and he's trying to imagine his way through it. And he goes, no. This is no good. Can't move in this. And he takes it off. He says, I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. And then he took his staff, his shepherd's staff, and then he chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, and he put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag. And with his sling in his hand, he approached the Philistine. Now, sling, you think slingshot, you're thinking about, the Y, this stick with the Y, and you pull it back like that. Well, actually, his sling was a leather strap, all right, leather strap, and you put a rock, or in some eras they would put like a metal ball in there. But during David's day, you try and find a round, smooth stone to go in there, and you would swing it above your head, all right. And when you got to the point, you'd let go of one side, and that thing would sling out. And now some people who were really, really good at this, and this was a means of war. This was a weapon of war, all right? This was a long-range weapon, okay? So ones who had gotten really good at that, who had trained at it, could knock somebody down, could actually kill somebody at a distance. And so what David said is, I'm not going against this guy how he wants me to go against him. I can't do it, right? I can't wear your armor. I'm going to go the way I know how to go. And so instead of doing it the way the king said to do it, he followed the Lord and followed his heart. And so he goes and he grabs the stones and puts them in his pack, and he begins to head towards the Philistine. And as he heads down, Goliath must have been surprised. He goes, oh, somebody's coming. All right, let's go. And he heads down, and as he approaches the field of battle, Goliath sees that this is just a young man. This guy's probably never been in a battle. Just more than a boy. And he sees he's carrying a stick, no sword, no shield, no armor bearer. And he says to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and to the wild animals. Come here. And what Goliath wanted was him to come right to him. He wanted him to do battle exactly the way that soldiers, he thought, were supposed to do battle. I've got my heavy armor on. I've got my sword. I've got my shield. Now you come and you stand right in front of me, and we're going to swing these swords at each other until somebody goes down. Well, Goliath knows he's got that battle won. David probably figured he did too. But David says, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, of the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down, and I'll cut off your head. And this very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And all those gathered here will know this, that it is not by sword and not by spear that the battle is won, but the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. It is not by sword and not by spear that the Lord saves, but the battle is his. And he will do exactly what he plans to do in this battle. It doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter what weapons you come against me with. If God decides today that I'm going to take you down, which I believe he has, you're going down. You are absolutely going down. You think you're going to feed me to the wild animals? I'm going to feed the whole army of y'all to the wild animals. And David starts after him. He starts running towards him, and he puts a stone in there, and he starts slinging, and he lets go of that thing, and it sinks right into the middle of Goliath's head, and that big old 9-foot sucker goes right down. Boom. I don't know if the stone killed him, but I know this did for sure. If he wasn't dead already, David goes over there and he grabs that big old sword out of that guy's scabbard and he boom, runs it through him and then takes it and chops off his head. There's a few kids in here, sorry. All right. Chops off his head. Takes that big old, man, it must have been giant, right? It must have been a big old head. Takes that big old head, gives it to Saul. It's not by sword, and not by spear that the Lord saves. It's not how you think it's going to happen. It's not the power and the might and the ingenuity. Here's the lesson I want for us today. It's not how everybody else does it. See, all around us, people are trying to fight the giants of their lives, trying to get through life. And you see all around you, they're fighting like the world fights. They're fighting, some of them actually are not fighting at all. They're kind of like those soldiers. They just give up trying. You know, that call for battle comes out and he's won already. Going through the mundane of life. But many of us, we're just living life just like our neighbors, just like our friends, just like our family, even though God's called us to do life differently, to be a husband and wife different than everybody else is doing it, to be a parent in a different way than everybody else is doing it, to be a different kind of employee, to be a different kind of boss than the way everybody else is doing it. David said, I ain't fighting your battle. I'm doing it the way you think I ought to do it. You want me to come stand right in front of you? Forget that. God's going to show me how to beat you, sucker. You know what? God's given us a better way to fight. And depending on your situation, it may look different, but God's given us a better way to live, a better way to go against the giants of our lives. And listen, there's all kinds of giants. There may be some crisis that's happening in your life right now. It may just be getting through the day without falling back into the old temptations. It may be that just keeping your marriage intact is the Goliath that you're facing right now. Maybe raising your kids and hoping that they don't lose it, right? And hoping that you don't lose them. These are all big, giant things. And most of us, if we're not careful, we're just going to do it just like everybody else. And we see the results of everybody else, right? We've experienced in our own life. We've done it like everybody else, and marriages have fallen apart. We've lost children. We've suffered from addiction. We've had the same kind of defeats over and over and over again. And so it's time to do things differently. It's time to take a different way. It's time to have everybody else lined up there, even the king himself, looking at us going, you ain't got a chance. And it's time for us to say, watch me. I'm going to do it different, and you're going to see how it's going to pay off. Because it's not about your ingenuity. It's not about the money you got. It's not about the way you think it ought. It's not about what you think about me. The battle is the Lord's. The battle is the Lord's. And whatever He wants out of this, if I'm obedient to Him, if I'm faithful to what He is calling me to do, then I don't have any worries. I don't care what your giant is. And so sometimes we just got to be different. You can't be worried about what everybody thinks or what they're going to say. Christy and I, when Sam's my 16-year-old. He's, if you don't know who Sam is, he's the big, tall joker. Plays guitar over here, all right? So when Sam was in kindergarten, we started him at kindergarten at the private school in the South Georgia town we lived. And the area we lived, the public school was not great. It suffered all kinds of problems over the years. And so there's a private school there. And so everybody we know sent their kids to the private school. But Christy and I had been talking and praying about, should we homeschool? And I know, listen, this isn't This isn't an everybody should homeschool thing. This. I'm just talking about for us at that time. I know not everybody can do it, and not everybody has the opportunity. But we were talking and praying about homeschooling. We decided, all right, we think the best thing for us is to homeschool little Sam, big giant head, look like Jimmy Neutron. He's so cute. All right, and so he's gonna get me back for this. I don't know if he's in here right now. All right, good. And so decided he had little glasses. I'll tell you about Sam. Hold on, y'all got time? All right. So we were in Florida. We were going to Disney World, I think. We were going to Disney World, and Sam's just, I don't know, he's 2 or 3, something like that, maybe 3 or 4. We're riding, and we're talking about down the tollway and all these orange trees, orange groves, and Christy and I are saying, "Oh, look at all the oranges on the trees," and Sam goes, "What oranges?" What oranges? I'm like, oh, we're terrible parents. He can't see anything. He's blind. So we had to take him and get glasses. Oh, there's a whole world out here. So, sorry. So we decided, all right, if we're going to homeschool, kindergarten, we probably know more. We know what happens in kindergarten. Like, we can handle kindergarten. So if we're going to try it, let's try it now. And but we were worried about what other people were going to think of us. Small South Georgia town, wasn't a whole lot of people homeschooling. People are going to think we're weird. People don't think we're different. We're weird. You're supposed to go to the private school. And there's nothing wrong with the people that did. And I'm not saying, I'm talking about here's us facing the giant of raising our children, trying to do the very best that we know how. And we're think God's leading us to a decision, but the worry is everybody else does it this way. Everybody else does it this way. And they're going to think that they're going to look at us and go, "You crazy. You weird." Right? And here's the blessing I had and that you don't necessarily have this, is that I was the pastor there. I'm the preacher. And I realized everybody thinks the preacher is weird anyway. Right? So it's like this freedom. Everybody thinks the preachers are weird anyway, so we can go ahead and be weird and homeschool our kid. And so that gave us the freedom to do that. But we realized people thought, it's crazy. They think, you're going to mess your kid up, right? They need to be socialized. They're not going to be socialized. They're going to be like one of those weird homeschoolers, kind of twitchy and nerdy and can't talk to anybody. And that's kind of the stereotype, right? That's the stereotype. It comes from like the spelling bee, the national spelling bee. There's always a homeschooler that won it, in the years past, and they'd interview this kind of twitchy, nerdy little kid, right? And he goes, "See, I'm homeschooling my kid, And then they pan over and interview the parents. Twitchy, nerdy, right? Your kids are going to be as weird as you are. All right? Your kids they're going to have the same kind of weird that you do. And we realize that. Now, what we hope is that God is going to redeem some of that weirdness, right, and make it better, right? God's going to redeem some of that weakness and make stronger some of those strengths, right? But for us during that time, and I realized not everybody can do that, and it's not the right decision for everybody. But for us in that time, facing the Goliath of raising our children, what do we do about their education? Everybody else is going to think we're weird. This is harder. This is different, especially there's not a bunch of other homeschoolers around us to support us in this. But we think it's the right thing to do. And so we just did weird for a while. Actually, been doing weird all the way through. Still doing homeschool. There's more support here in Columbus, but it's funny, somebody asked me just yesterday, "What grade are your kids in?" I'm like, they're 13 and 16. I'm almost positive of their ages, but I don't know their grades because they're called like something weird. It's not like 7th, 8th, 9th. So they call it something else with their homeschool thing. So, but here's the thing. Now, let's see. I don't think they're in here, so I can do this. I'm proud of my boys. So proud of them. Both of them are hardworking, well-adjusted, smart, love their mama, love Jesus, serve the church. Proud of them. Now, I know we got a long way to go. All right, we got a long way to go. Lots of craziness can come, but right now, I don't regret one moment of being different, being weird. All right? And over the course of our lives, we've been faced with lots of decisions where we have done just like everybody else and have not been happy with the consequences of that. And some things we've done, we've had to make really tough decisions that were different from what other people around us said was the right thing to do or what we should do. I've had to make big life decisions about, where we're going to be in ministry. Should we move our family to a different place and with a different group of people and to pastor a church? And, several times throughout my ministry, and you make these big decisions. And for some reason, for me, every one of them, well, let me tell you, I'm give you a little inside scoop on pastors and churches, okay? It's inside talk. Don't tell any other preachers I told you, okay? So now this is the way this is supposed to work. When a preacher says, I feel called to this other church, right? So what everybody assumes that, the Spirit's moving, the Spirit called them, and it almost always is a bigger church with more money, right? Love that the Spirit works like that, right? He has not worked that way in my life. We're like downwardly mobile. Every decision we made is like for less money. I'm like, now listen, I'm not poor-mouthing. God has taken care of my family. I mean, He's returned everything back to me 100-fold, and anything I'm still wanting, I know He's going to take care of me in the future. I'm not worried about that. What I'm saying is there were people around me, all around me said, no. Don't do that. That's not what you should, that's not wise. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. God's blessed me through it. You're going to have decisions like that where God's going to be leading you in a direction. God's going to be taking you on a path. And people around you are going to say, no. That's not. You're going to give up money to do that, to be obedient to God? Or are you going to have other people look at you funny to be obedient to God? Other people think you're weird? No. And what I say is, it's not by sword or bank account. It's not by spear or status that the Lord saves. The battle is the Lord's. This life, this battle, this journey He's taken me through, it is the Lord's. And He's going to see me through it. Amen. And so giant that stands against me, whatever it is, if it's a difficulty in marriages or raising of children or temptation from addiction or whatever it is in life, that giant that stands before you, you can stand before it and say, your power doesn't work here. Today, God will deliver you into my hands, and I will feed your body to the birds of the air and the animals of the field as I step over your corpse. And God is able. Now, you may look weird for a while. Everybody up on that hill, they saw David going down there and they said, he's dead. That joker is dead. I'm going to be scooping him up, scraping him off a Goliath's shoe. They may say stuff like that about you. Let me tell you something. They got to see something miraculous up there from the hillside where they were scared. Up there where they were so scared that it had just become normal. Living in that fear had just become normal life. It's just what everybody else does. Not one of them willing to step out and to do something different. They're just eating their breakfast as that giant saying, I got you. I defeated you because you're going to stay right there. And they're just eating their breakfast, ho-hum. And that's what we're doing, folks. Every day we're going through normal life, and we're just letting these giants beat us because we have just decided this is how everybody else does it. This is how everybody else does marriage. They stack up their points against each other. It's me against her, right? And that's how you do marriage. And I can't let her get anything over on me. I'm going to hold on to the past, and I'm going to make sure that if anything happens and they don't act right, that I've got the power in this situation. I got my money safed away where I can get away from this thing. That's how you do it. That's how you watch yourself, right? Or this is how I'm going to go through life. That how does the world do social media? How does the world do what they take in? How does the world handle what they give their kids to have in their room and the dangers? And I sound like some old guy now. It's like, well, you sound like some homeschooler now. But listen. All that is right here given to a child, all that is right there that can permanently damage. Physically change the pathways in somebody's brain. Some of y'all know this. You live in the effects of it. You go, that's what everybody does. What if my kid, if other people think my kid's weird? Every kid thinks that other people think they're weird. I'm telling you, it is the rare kid who thinks that, yeah, man, I got all, everybody loves me, I'm great. Every kid's insecure. Give them something really good to be insecure about, right? That you love them enough to protect them, to guard them, to put barriers around them. You want to be weird for them, right? Don't go any more days just acting like it's normal. Letting these giants have victory over your life and over your marriage. Everybody at your workplace does it this way. They cut corners here. They treat clients this way. And that's just how you do it. That's just how you do it. It's how everybody does it. No, it doesn't have to be how everybody does it. Honesty, integrity. See, the things that we want, the dreams that we want to achieve, the things that we hope for down the line, they don't come from just sitting here and doing it like everybody else. From asking God, all right, God, what's the different way? It's not by sword, not by spear that you're going to save. So how are you going to save in my life? How do you want me to live differently today? What's the next thing that I need to do? What's the change? For some of you, it's just to step up and to say, all right, I'm not standing on this line anymore. I'm not sitting back. I'm going to be asking God, show me where to make change. Show me where I can be weird, where I can be different than everybody else. Because I'm tired of these giants eating my lunch. I want to stand up like that young David and say, today the battle belongs to the Lord. And guess what? I'm on his side. Father, thank you that through your power, there's victory over everything that would come against us. God, we are grateful to know that out of your love and your mercy, you fought on our behalf. Well, that's what happened on the cross. Is that you gave Jesus, who in what looked like weakness was actually great strength, as he carried all of our shame and all of our hurt and all the things that we feel like we can't forgive somebody else for, carried all of that upon himself. He showed great strength on the cross, and then you showed your strength by raising him from the dead. God, thank you for that. I pray that someone in this room and someone watching online today would just step out of that battle line, would step out of the mundane, step out of the regular, step out of getting beat up by giants every day, and would change their family, change their life, change the direction of where they're going, change the future of their children. God, would you give them the faith and the will to step forward and to know that it is not by sword, not by spear that you save, but it is by the shed blood of your Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for them. And if they would believe and receive his forgiveness, God, that you have a future and a hope for them. God, would you reach into somebody's heart and change it today? In Jesus' name, amen. The invitation is to you this morning. Would you do different? See, because following Jesus is a different path. Giving your life over to Him totally is a different path. Everybody else is trying to do it under their own strength. We see where that goes. We see the destruction it leads to. But He's invited you to come in and to be a part of His family. He wants to forgive you and love you and give you a new purpose and direction for your life. The Bible's very clear how that happens. It's no great hoops you have to jump through. It is that you would trust Him with your very life. He has given His life for you. Now, will you give your life back to Him? It is in the best place that it can be, in the hands of God. Even if you are running through the battlefield, facing a giant, if you are in God's hands, you are safe. You are in good shape. And so do you need to make that decision to give yourself over to Him today? I invite you to do so. You can come down here and talk to me about it. You can mark it on that card. Maybe somebody needs to step forward and publicly say, I'm following Jesus. I need to be baptized. I've been putting it off. Mark it on that card. Let me know. All right. Is it the time for you to step out and to be different? Maybe you've been nervous about it. I'm an adult. I should have been baptized when I was a kid, but I waited so long. But maybe today is the day where you say, I'm stepping out. I'm going to be weird. All right. I'm going to be different than everybody else. Not going to be just like everybody else. Is it time for you today? He's calling for you to respond to Him. Father, help us. Help us during this time as we give back to you an offering, God, that we would also just give back our lives to you, that we would give back our children to you, that we would give back our marriage to you. Help us to do so today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for watching today. We hope you were ministered to by the message. To keep up with all things that God's doing through the Fort Church, visit our website, fortchurch.org. Follow our social media outlets such as Facebook and Instagram. You can also support the ministry by giving online at fortchurch.org/give.